Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Marana and Oro Valley Experience on the Live the Dream Media Network. I am your host, David Samarano, and I am here with Town Manager of Marana, Terry Rozema. I always wonder if I get the beat right on that. Is it the Marana Town Manager or is it the Town Manager of Marana, Arizona?
I think it's whatever you want it to be, David.
Close enough as long as we get there, right?
That's right, man.
Hey, thanks for taking time to be here today. I know you've had a busy couple of weeks, and there's a lot of stuff going on in Marana, a lot of growth and things we'll talk about, and we'll get into that. But, you know, I always like to start the show to paint the picture of how Terry ended up here. Right?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. Like here in the studio or in my position?
In your position.
In my position, yeah. Well, you know, I mean, you're familiar with my law enforcement career. I did 36 years in law enforcement and long time at the city of Tucson, 10 years as the police chief. And one night, 8:30 at night, my phone rings, and it's the now current mayor, former vice mayor, John Post, and he said, "Hey, we're making a move at the top, and what do you think about being our interim?" I said, "Yeah, I can keep the seat warm." And he said, "What do you think about doing it full time?" And I said, "Not a chance, man." But you know what happened is 3 months into being interim, I was really enjoying myself, and they were happy with what I was doing. So we ended up making it a permanent gig. So I've been in there now for the last 5 years.
5 years already?
Yeah, I know it, man.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, time flies, bro.
What do you like most about it?
I love the people, and that's always been the case. You know, even when I was in cop work, I loved working with cops. I think people who are in public service have a special kind of, if you hire the right people, you end up with a really special group of people. So I love that aspect of it. I love the fact that we get an opportunity to shape the future of the town. So the development stuff is a lot of fun. It's frustrating sometimes too, because you can't do as much as you'd like to do. But you know, it's still a really good thing, and a lot of good developers are interested in doing cool things in our town. So working with them is a lot of fun.
What brings developers to Marana? I mean, there's obviously other places to develop, but what is the reason that they're choosing Marana? Is it the open space, resources?
Yeah, sure. I think it's a combination of things. There's a lot of things that are coming together that are making Marana attractive. And of course, you know, Tucson, the city of Tucson itself is, you know, about as big as it's going to get from a geographical standpoint. And so then you start moving to the suburbs and looking for growth in those suburbs. And so the areas that are growing the most right now are Vail and Marana. Marana is the second or third fastest growing community in all of Arizona. And the I-10 doesn't hurt us at all. That's a real benefit, having a major interstate going right through our community. The fact that we have a lot of open land that's farmland right now, most of that farmland, people don't understand this, but most of that farmland is already owned by developers, been bought up years ago in anticipation that at one point they would want to develop it into something. Then I think, too, the way that the town has gone about its business for decades now, really. I mean, going all the way back to Ora May Harn and the way that she worked with different people, you know, the way the town worked with the meals to develop Dove Mountain, the way they worked with Crown West and Dean Martin.
Dean Martin.
Dean
Let's
Martin.
Go.
What? Yeah. Dean Wingert to create Gladden Farms, Continental Ranch, you know, purchasing, going out and annexing, not purchasing, but annexing Ina and Thornydale and Orange Grove area, being business friendly and wanting to grow, but to grow in a way that makes sense for our community.
Yeah. And when you say makes sense for the community, enlighten us and folks on what that means, because so I watched the meeting about the rezoning and everything for the data center up in North Marana, and felt like it was a really good presentation. Had a really good understanding of the power issue that was at play, the water conversation that was at play. I feel like those questions were answered. There was somebody on the council also was like, yeah, this answered a lot of questions. It was more of a trust thing, needed to know, needed to get it out.
Yeah.
But even then, I've been watching like social channels, and people are just really talking about some crazy stuff that I didn't see here or see presented inside of the meeting. And when you talk about making sure it's a good fit for Marana and the growth and doing it sustainably and everything, what does that mean to Marana and the residents?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, I will tell you that certainly, so we're going to jump right into the deep end of the pool, I guess, aren't we, David?
We are.
Yeah.
Welcome.
That's okay, man.
No, I'm
a good swimmer.
You know what? I put out that I was going to do this, and I had some messages. Hey, can you ask some certain questions?
Yeah.
I don't know. And I don't want to be the one to go, yeah, I think it's this. You know, it's
so
better if you do
there are certain things that everybody loves to have. Right, that are the easy wins. Right, restaurants are things that people love. We want sit-down restaurants, and I wish we could build sit-down restaurants, but that's not what we do. Then there are things like a recreation center, an aquatic center. You build something like that. That's a great thing. It's a wonderful thing. So growing with things like that, that's kind of a no-brainer, right? Mm-hmm. Having nice neighborhoods, that's a no-brainer. Now, when you start talking about bringing in development that creates jobs, that becomes a little bit more nuanced. And it's nuanced because some people don't like some of the industries that bring jobs, right? And data centers turns out to be one of those. We found out very quickly. Not that we didn't know that going in, but that some people are really adamant against.
Let me piggyback off of that statement.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm correct, there's like 140 data centers in Phoenix.
Something like that. I don't have the exact number, but it's at least 100.
Yeah.
It's at least 100.
And they provide jobs, and then you've seen them become kind of part of the infrastructure. What is it about the data centers that would lead someone to believe that it's not a good concept for jobs? Is it just solely based on the resource usage, or is it just because the business model itself that people might say, hey, that's not enough positions?
I think it's probably B there. I think it's not enough positions for the amount of land that they're taking up. Although 400 jobs is 400 jobs. Now, roughly 90 to 100 of those are like the computer engineers, the higher paying jobs. The rest of those are security positions and, maintenance and things of that nature. But I think that the bigger picture thing here is, us spending the time, because I'll be honest with you, like data centers wasn't high on my list of things I wanted to come to Marana.
Yeah, I don't think,
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't, the idea of some of these giant buildings, in our community didn't thrill me. As I looked at some of the things that were going on up in Phoenix Valley. But that being said, as we began to do our research and do our due diligence and put together a really strong ordinance, we began to see, there is an opportunity here still to take advantage of the benefits while eliminating or at least greatly reducing the negatives relative to data centers. So that's what we set out to do. And we listened to what was going on up in the Phoenix Valley in terms of what people were complaining about. And they were complaining about noise. Okay, so we're going to put these things as far away from people as we can get them. Now, no one's going to hear the noise from this thing. People are still talking about the noise. People are not going to hear the noise from this. Even the people in the cemetery across the street are not going to hear. They're going to hear the noise from the freeway more than they're going to hear the noise from the data center. So noise was a big thing. The appearance of the buildings is another big thing. And so we went to great lengths to make sure that these buildings are going to look nice. They're going to be nice campuses with 400-foot setbacks of landscaping, right? So you think about 400 feet, it's a football field and a third. That's a lot of buffer between the roadways and the actual buildings themselves. So noise and appearance, I think that we've covered those. Water is always a big issue. Now, we had a better situation with water than probably anybody in the region because we have the CMID, the Otero Marana irrigation district, and we could have utilized irrigation water because it's going on land that is currently farmland that uses an incredible amount of water. And they would have used half the amount of water to water cool the facility, and we would have cleaned the water. They would have cleaned the water, and we would have gotten the recharge from it. But because there was so much pushback about water, the companies decided to do complete air cooled. So the people were saying they're going to use up all of our water. Well, that's not true because it's a closed loop air cooled system, not a water system. The electric thing, the power part of it, I'll be honest, it's not something that I'm super familiar with. I have been convinced in talking with the power companies and in looking at what's going on in the Phoenix Valley. It's hard to argue that you can have 100 plus data centers in Phoenix.
There's 156 in Maricopa. I was just sent that information.
156.
Yeah.
Okay. But you can't have one in Pima County? That doesn't make any sense. How can they provide power for 156 data centers? Now, granted, they're not all large data centers like the one that we're building, but nonetheless, you're still talking about 156. They're going to use a lot more power than what the facility is that we're building here in Marana. So in talking with Trico and TEP and listening to them convey to us, here's how we're going to make this work. And we feel great confidence that we can deliver, and it actually strengthens our grid. And for Trico, because they're a co-op and they're resident owned, right? It actually benefits the Trico customers.
And if you want to learn more about that, I did a show with Brian, listeners, viewers.
Right on.
And he talked about this whole project and how all that was going to work, how it was going to be funded, and all that. So thanks for bringing that up.
He explains that very, very, very well, and I wouldn't even dare try to explain it.
Me neither, man. Me neither.
So, I get that people are leery and they're because fear of the unknown. I think, we've dealt with this with numerous other projects in the town where people showed up and they were angry, and the town said, no, this is good. We need to do this. And they did it. And you know what? All the fears that people had about those projects, they didn't come to fruition either.
Was there a referendum pulled on any of those other projects?
No, this is the first referendum that, at least in the time that I've been with the town. Mm-hmm. So, It's not a super fun thing to go through, but it's part of the process. So.
Another clarifying point for us.
Okay, yeah.
What is the referendum?
A referendum, yeah. So actually what it does is it refers the item to the voters.
Okay.
So it becomes a ballot initiative that has to be voted on by the voters. Mm-hmm. That's all it means. Okay. So if they get enough signatures, it means that they get it on the ballot. And then the voters will decide whether or not they want this project or not. Yeah. Now, the thing that people aren't talking about, is the economic benefit, and not only from the standpoint of the money that comes in for the town, which helps to build infrastructure that the town wants, right? That all the people, our residents, when I say town, I mean the residents of our community. They want a better interchange at Marana and I-10. You got to believe that. Right? So they want nice roads. They want great police services, which we have. But if you're going to sustain those things, you have to have a funding source. And some places are really struggling with that because things are getting more and more expensive. So if we're going to think ahead and think smart and create a revenue stream to ensure that we maintain the very highest levels of public service, we've got to find things like this. And this is one of those things that I think is going to be highly, highly beneficial for the town so that we don't ever have to have a property tax and, we can keep other rates low. So, those are some of the things that we're thinking about from a long-term standpoint.
Yeah. And with a project like that, it would probably mean we'd have to build more schools. Just because the population would increase and you need the job.
Those projects themselves don't create, they're not a real drain on resources, right? Because you have a few hundred employees, that's not a huge strain. They're not call generators for police and fire and meds and things like that. But it is very beneficial to the school district because of the property tax that goes to Pima County, and a portion of that, of course, goes to the schools, and a portion of that goes to the fire district. And if you were at the meeting, then you heard the school district superintendent Dan Streeter get up there and talk about it, and you heard Brad Bradley from the fire district get up there, Northwest Fire District, get up there and talk about the benefits to it. So. Yeah.
So you said it's not a big call generator. What are the big call generators in Marana?
Oh, typically it's your business districts, right? The Walmarts, the Targets, the Costco's. Big time retail where you're having a lot of shopliftings and things of that nature. Those tend to be your highest call generators.
Okay. So I'm going to bring on this is a statement I've been seeing kind of circulated.
Okay.
And again, at any point, if you're just like, hey, I'm not going to answer that, just, by all means, it's okay. But so this one has been shared numerous times in different social media channels, and it's almost, it feels kind of scripted, but it's using numbers and it's trying to show incentives. So the comment is, not only is this blatant information, I find it funny you didn't mention the $84 million in incentives for the Tucson developer that our town will have to pay.
So I think that they're specifically referring to the downtown project.
So the downtown project.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's another. So there's a referendum that they're trying to get a referendum on the downtown to have that go to the voters as well. There's a lot of really bad information that's being circulated on that.
Right. I think based on what I'm seeing, I know there's a lot. It's a pretty. I won't get into, but it's a immense effort of stuff that's going out that's misinformation and but that's why we're having this conversation, to clear it up, right? Because if I'm coming in as a regular citizen of Marana and I'm seeing all these comments continuously. It's like that. It's that idea of frequency, right? When you see something enough times, you're either going to believe it or you're going to go take some kind of action on it.
Right.
Whether you turn it off or you go buy the product or you go, hey, I'm all in. That's enough. And the way of the world now with social media and how fast these bites are. It's like you see this $84 million figure being used, and I mean it's being used everywhere in groups and so on.
Yeah.
Can you explain the business aspects step by step of what that $84 million is, how it works, and how it benefits the residents of Marana, or if it benefits developer? What can you break it down?
Yeah. So the $84 million is not incentives to the developer. Okay. The $84 million is actually reimbursement for the downtown that they're going to build on our property. So let me just lay the groundwork here. We have 20 acres, just shy of 20 acres, that belongs to the town of Marana, right across from the Marana Municipal Complex, right across from the Mark and from the Marana Health Center and the fire admin facility. And we want a downtown. Our residents have said we need a gathering space. We want a gathering space. And so a downtown gives us that. And so to create this walkable only, no cars in this area, downtown for the town of Marana, right, we have partnered with a developer who builds restaurants and hotels and things of that nature. So they're going to build this downtown on our property. And those buildings are going to become our buildings. And so we're going to pay them back for those buildings. They're going to build them, and then over time, we're going to pay them back with the money that they generate to build those buildings and operate those buildings, right?
It's a great business deal.
This is I got to tell you, this is going to be one of the best things that has ever happened to the town of Marana.
And business deal, I mean, from my understanding of what you're saying, that's for the town, that's for the residents.
Yes. So think about it this way. If you built a house and you don't have the money to pay for the house, you go to a bank.
Right.
And the bank actually builds the house for you. right?
Okay.
They front the money to a guy who builds it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you pay them back over time, and eventually the house becomes yours. This is the same principle here, in reality. So they're going to build these buildings at $84 million. The return, and we had an Elliot Pollock who did a economic analysis of this deal, took a look at the contract and said, okay, here's what you're going to get out of this. At the end of the lease, when we take the buildings back, if it's at 75 years, the property is going to be worth, I think it was something like $374 million, or $347 million. And at the end of 100 years, the property would appraise at roughly $470 million. Now, obviously, there's a lot of calculations and projections that go into that, but obviously, real estate increases in value. If you think about a 100-year-old building in downtown New York, right? The cost of that building, in fact, I'll use a real life example. I went to Holland, Michigan, and went through their little downtown, and there were buildings there that said, established in 1853.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know what it cost to build that building in 1853. But it probably wasn't $4 million, which is what it was up for sale for, right?
Yeah.
So, the increase in value in these facilities that are going to be built for the town, and then in the process, not only that, but they're going to pay us a lease payment every month for leasing the land that the buildings are going on. And that's in the hundreds of thousands of dollars a year that they'll pay to us. In addition to that, the sales tax that are generated from that will equal to, in the first 20 years, $37 million. Mm-hmm. And then going forward, it increases astronomically. By the time a 75-year lease is up, we've seen a complete return on our investment of over $160 million, right? In addition to that, we start to share in the profits with them after 8 years. So we profit share from what they're doing with the facilities in terms of restaurants and salons and spas and hotels and all of that thing. So we get to share in, there's a profit sharing that happens there. So this deal ends up being a really big winner for the town of Marana. I kind of felt like I was starting to sound like President Trump there. Is it really? Really big, really, huge.
Yeah.
But this is, honestly, if people looked at and read all the details about this thing and really understood the impact for the town, it's a huge financial benefit. But honestly, even if we broke even in this thing, it would be a huge winner. Why? Because people want a downtown. They want restaurants. They've been jonesing for these things, and we're saying we found a way to be able to bring this to you. And now we've got people saying, oh, no, 84 million incentives. Okay, wrong-o, dongo. It's not 84 million in incentives. It's 84 million reimbursement. And that's done in projects all the time. Yeah. Think about the Tucson Premium Mall over here, right? All of the infrastructure that they put in there, we're paying them back for that. Why? Because that's our infrastructure. It gets turned over to us and becomes ours. So they pay for it up front, and we pay them back, just like what they're doing in the downtown. They're going to build it and give it to us, and we're paying them back for that. Just like I said, when you buy a house.
Yeah.
Right.
Can you make them change the sign to say Marana on the mall?
I know it, man. Dude, I know.
I just thought I'm just trying to.
It was one of those things that they had to have, because people wouldn't know where Marana
I'm sure it's
was.
open for discussion at some point.
At some point, it's got to be. It's got to be.
I'll lead it.
We're going to be.
I'll say, hey guys, let's say, I'm just thought I'd throw that in there. But no, that's a great point.
So does that make sense? I mean, did I explain that in a way that you're like, okay, I get it, Terry.
Yeah. I just don't understand why that's not out there more. I mean, I got to be honest with you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So it is out there, and we've talked about it a lot. It's been on our podcast.
Yes.
It's been on our social media. It's on our website. So go to the website. You can look at all of this information. It's all spelled out.
Can I get the ding, Tony?
Ding! I'll give you
There
one.
it is.
Oh, wow. That's legit.
Oh, here, do the 100 million, or is it $1 billion? $100
billion.
We got all kinds of crafty stuff. But yeah, no, that's what I wanted to cover. Is like, where else is all this stuff at, right? And you know, I have my opinions about media and attention and all that, but you know, let's get into this conversation more.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even want to go to break. Sponsors, Marana Chamber, thank you. If I miss one, we appreciate you, and we'll make sure we run something here at the end. But I'll shout you out. If you're not part of the Marana Chamber of Commerce, do it.
Do it.
If you're looking to start a podcast, come to Live the Dream Media. I think there might be a couple other ones on there. Oh, Union Hospitality, a huge sponsor here. If you're looking for something to do, and St. Philip Plaza is the place to go. You got a bunch of different concepts there: pizza, Italian, all that. So I got you guys, but we're not going to go.
Grant Kruger.
Grant Kruger, yeah. We're not going to
yeah.
jump into the full ad set because
Good
we got a
guy.
lot to cover. And are you okay with that? Do you need to go?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, whatever you want.
I gotta stop saying that's my biggest thing that I'm working on this year. I just did it. Now
New Year's
I just want to
resolution?
walk off the set right now. And go,
Yeah.
"Ah," but yeah, with this the referendum.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what I know because I dig.
Yeah.
The referendum was not pulled by a Marana resident,
No, that's accurate.
and that's allowed to happen.
Yeah, it has to be. Yeah. Yeah.
That's odd.
It is odd. I don't, you know, I think that part of it is the part that rubs me, because, you know, I don't mind. That's the referendum is a tool that's in the toolbox for residents.
Right.
To be able to.
You said the word residents.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there you go. So for, you know, an entity outside of the town, a Phoenix area activist group, whatever they are, I'm not
I'm not gonna.
sure. I'm not even sure. But,
Yeah.
you know, for them to come down and think that they know what's going on in our town, you know, that's a little bit troubling. And, you know, when we started talking about the downtown and all that stuff about the 84 million was all presented. It was presented in council meetings and study sessions and all kinds of, you know, so, you know, the information about this downtown has been public for a long time. And so our residents have been overwhelmingly supportive of this. So then to have people who aren't residents of our community come in, combine with residents of our community and say, hey, we want to pull a referendum on this. That part of it's a little bit frustrating, you know, in the 11th hour when, you know, we're starting design and hoping to break ground yet in 2026.
Yeah. That we gotta fix that. This is my opinion. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a
Talk to your
legislator
Yeah.
listening or watching, I mean, I'm not saying stop it, but I think there needs to be a couple more layers on that. I mean, I'm familiar with how some of the government works here, and that's a pretty easy maneuver. I think
Yeah.
that's easier than getting your license to sell food and stuff here in Pima County. I mean, I don't even know what to say about it. That somebody that doesn't live here
Yeah.
has no, well, I guess I can't say interest. They can just come to Marana. They can come to Oro Valley. They can come to, you know, Tucson and pull a referendum on a project
Yeah.
when they're not a resident. I keep repeating that because I want that to seep into people here, and whatever side you're on, you know what I mean. I'm taking this whole concept that we're talking about today as an educational opportunity.
Yeah.
That's a pretty glaring problem to me,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that we should figure out a way to talk about that more and express maybe ways as community to look that up more and see if we can fix that. That's nuts.
Yeah. You know, do I think in the end, when if it gets on the ballot, that the residents will overwhelmingly support the downtown
I think
project.
it'll get smoked.
I think it'll
But
be
that's just
yeah. But you see, we're going through all of this stuff in the interim. Right?
So does this whole process that we're working through now, does this cost the Marana residents aside from the projects getting delayed?
Sure.
Is there a lot of money that goes into this? This whole.
Oh yeah. Elections aren't cheap, man. They cost money. So it'll go on the next election. So I can't say how much that specific.
If they get the signatures, it will.
Right. If they get the signatures, and I don't remember how much many signatures. It's like 1,300 and some odd signatures. But I had a resident tell me, they came. These people came to my house and said, "Hey, we're getting people to sign this." This thing for a referendum. Do you want the town to give $84 million to a developer? And I thought, that's not even a little misleading. That's a lot misleading, right? So you can see where people go, heck no, I don't want the town to give $84 million. Yeah.
It's an easy sell.
Yeah. You could get people to sign that left and right. So, are they getting people to? I have no idea. Mm-hmm. It's something beyond my control, so I choose not to think about it, worry about it, fret about it. It doesn't do any good.
Yeah. So that was the big thing I wanted to cover was the $84 million for the town project.
Yeah.
Getting into the data center stuff, I continuously keep reading that all of you guys are going to have a Porsche or something at some point show up.
Well,
where's the? Are you guys? So people want me to ask. I'm going to ask you, Terry.
Yeah, it's total nonsense.
Are you guys getting kickbacks?
Not a dime. Not a single dime, David
Swear.
Marano. Yeah, 100%. And that part is really insulting, quite frankly. And I understand why people go there because it's the low-hanging fruit. It's the thing that you watch TV and you see corrupt government officials. Now, they haven't accused me personally or the staff of being on the take, at least not that I'm aware of. But they certainly have accused our council members of that. They're lying in their pockets with the money of developers. Well, that's just not true. Any money that comes out of this project goes right back into the community. We turn around and invest that into this community. That's why we've been successful. Because we continue to make good decisions that prove profitable for the town, and then we pour that back into the town. So this is one of those projects that the residents are going to be the greatest beneficiaries of. So it's hard to convince people of that if they distrust government, which I get. Mm-hmm. I understand why people dislike government, distrust government, government. And we've largely earned this reputation for being lazy and lethargic and untrustworthy and unethical and all of that kinds of thing. Some of that's been earned, but it hasn't been earned by us. Our town has not had that reputation. And it's interesting to me. And if you were at the meeting, you noticed this. People got up who have lived here for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, and accused the council of all kinds of stuff. The people who have lived here for 15 years, 20 years, 25 years, 30 years got up and said, look, we trust you. You have not ever let us down, and we support this because we know you wouldn't do us bad. Mm-hmm. So you had you had old Fred Barnett, and you had Joe Parsons, and you had all of these people that have been around the town for a long time say, man, we trust this council. So I just think that people with time will get to trust the council as well. Those who have been here for a shorter period of time. But right now it's been tough. I'll be honest with you. Some of the council members are having a really, really hard time with how viciously they're being attacked. And, this goes back, a number of months to an annexation that the town was doing where, people, it's kind of the way society is, I think now. It's just, if you don't have a good argument, attack the person,
mm-hmm. Straight to character.
Straight to character, attack their integrity, on the take, just raise all kinds of and see what sticks.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because there's real people behind that and good people. The mayor and council, I've gotten to know them in the last 5 years, and these are good human beings who have given a lot to this town to try and get it to the position where it's at. And this is the thing that blows my mind, David, is, people will say, I absolutely love it. I moved here 3 years ago, and I absolutely love the town of Marana. It's so amazing. But if you pass this, we will make sure this entire council is voted out. And I'm thinking, you love it here because the council that you're talking about has created an environment and a town and an atmosphere that makes you want to move here. And then because they're making a decision that you don't like or believe in or trust in or whatever, you're going to turn around and say, King's X, you're all out. I just think that's unfair. And I don't like that. I don't like it when people are bullied. And that's some of what's going on here is just a bullying. And some of the council have pushed back, and you can argue whether or not they've done that right or wrong or whatever. But you can kind of understand when people start attacking you personally, you're going to lash out at some point. You can only take that for so long.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I grew up here.
Yeah.
And
born and raised in Marana High School, right?
Mm-hmm. Marana Middle School, Marana High School. So I have a special relationship with this area, and I've seen a lot of good things happen. And the town and the council, I trusted trusted everybody there, and but I had a small moment where I was confused on a project, and that was the mark.
Mm-hmm.
And I had voiced some of my opinions on the mark, and they were not in favor of the project.
Mm-hmm.
And particularly, I was looking at it as a business perspective and different things. But I missed on that one. And, and I realized it later, especially after having some conversations with Councilwoman Ziegler, what it really did for the town.
Yeah.
And then I started learning about how much the town researched the project before you did it.
Mm-hmm.
And went to different municipalities and studied, hey, what are some things you didn't do you wish you did?
Yeah.
Right? So when you hear about that kind of work that goes into a project, it could change how you think about it. I'm like Clint, about 10 years ago, I probably wouldn't say that a data center should be over here.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be comfortable with
I wouldn't have said that 2 years ago.
Yeah, so 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And now so what I'm getting at is, and I was open in admitting that, I was wrong on that one, and I went and visited. I got a great tour by Wayne.
Yeah.
And there was another gentleman there. They were so awesome. They took us and showed all the different rooms, and you just saw joy. You saw people having a great time. The track that's on the inside. That took me back to my college that I went out in Missouri. We had a track on the because it would get really cold and crazy. But you see all this stuff going on. I just said again. You see that?
I didn't catch it, man. You're calling yourself out.
I saw all this good that came out of it, and I wasn't thinking about it at that time. And I wanted to share that story because there's always going to be this picture that's painted right on the surface. And if there's one thing I've learned about building something, you got to dig.
Yeah.
Whether you're putting in the foundation pretty low, or if you're doing it, just a couple inches in, you got to dig either way.
Yeah.
And I feel like the mark actually turned into a foundational piece of what this town's going to become.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was also a good showing of what the town does to work to make sure there's things in place that would benefit the residents.
Yeah.
Right? All those things that the gyms up there didn't have, you brought in.
Yeah.
Right? We talk about the data center. My understanding, you guys took 2 years to develop an ordinance, which I don't think anybody else here in the region has.
They don't.
They don't, right? So now potentially it's a model for someone else to study.
People have already called us, asked us for it.
Really?
So, yeah.
Okay.
I know the city of Tucson is using ours as a template for what they're going to do. Other than Chandler, I'm not sure that there was anybody. We were the first ones that did one in advance before any came along, and we did that primarily. I've talked about this before, but the council was like, "Man, we don't want these data centers coming to Marana," and so that's why we did an ordinance so that the council could have 100% autonomy. And then we started doing the research and going, you know what? There's ways to mitigate these negatives. And there are some real benefits from a financial standpoint to the town. Maybe we should really look at this. So, that's, and that kind of goes back to what we talked about from the very beginning, addressing this, the sound, the visuals, the setbacks, the water, the electric, all of those things. And, trying to take advantage of the positives while negating the negatives.
Did the town use a template or a...
No.
Or you guys just...
Yeah, so it literally took a year. Jane Farrell, I've shouted Jane out on this topic over and over again.
And Jane
Farrell is our town attorney.
Okay.
And Jason Angel also helped her with this, but she did just an enormous amount of research. And, she looked at the places in the United States that had the largest percentage of data centers and reached out to them and said, "Hey, what are you guys dealing with? What are the issues? How?" And just went about methodically addressing all of those things so that if somebody came in, they'd have to jump over a lot of hurdles if they wanted to put a data center in our community. And that's what this group has done. Beal has become like synonymous with a 4-letter word, man.
Mm-hmm.
But they've jumped over all the hurdles and they've met all the requirements. They've not asked for any accommodations. They're building a lot of infrastructure at no cost to the town, right? That are huge benefits for the town. So, and I think the other thing that people are losing sight of is data centers are going to be built. And this data center that we're talking about, if it's not built in Marana, it's going to be built someplace else. In all likelihood, it's going to be built in Pinal County, right on the other side of the line. Mm. So it'll be a half a mile away from where it's at right now, and all the same things, all the same fears, all the same issues that people are concerned about are still going to be there, and the town's not going to get any benefit. The other thing is, when you think about what's happened, like remember the cell towers?
Yeah.
Cell tower, nobody wanted a cell tower anywhere. And so everybody just said, no, we can't build cell towers. So what did the FCC do? They passed legislation that said you can't tell cell towers no. And so now cell towers can pretty much go wherever they want almost. Mm-hmm. Same thing's happening right now with fiber optic.
Yeah.
Communities don't want these fiber optic companies coming in and digging up the right of way and cutting into the road and running fiber optics everywhere because it's a pain. But now there's legislation that says, guess what?
Critical.
Yeah, it's critical infrastructure.
But they'll use these, right?
Yes, yes. And they're going to get by right. They're going to be able to do it by right. The same thing will happen with data centers because, like it or not, they're not going away, right?
Yeah, because one thing we'll touch on this. We only got like 10 minutes or so left.
Yeah.
And we'll touch on this. So I got a comment that came in. Damn it. I said it. We got to have fun here. It's a long form platform. Man.
Yes,
you gotta have a good time. The one thing that really stood out about the presentation was the proof that it's a critical infrastructure piece, especially when I heard how much the hospitals and public safety rely on that. And it comes up to, we've been as a media marketing and advertising agency and stuff and broadcasting on the internet, we've actually run into several redundancy issues because the infrastructure is so fragile. When a data center on the East Coast goes down, it really causes a ripple effect throughout the U.S. Because they're so dependent on these few that are over there. So we've had a lot of conversations with people on like, how do we spread out the fragility to make it stronger right? Where we can have a very dedicated network that we can work with, because a lot of people aren't tuning into the radio waves anymore, right? So when we have a big emergency, we're going to need to be able to talk to these people, and we're going to need to make sure that we have communication in different ways that people are used to.
Yeah.
It'd be like almost untraining a whole different generation, right? To go, yeah, hey, go turn on your radio, because they're used to listening to Spotify and everything else.
Right.
How are you going to
streaming everything?
Exactly. How are you going to broadcast those emergency components? How are you going to make sure that the people in the hospitals are still being taken care of during outages, so people can share information? What's their case? What are the, that was really, really eye-opening to me. And I was like, holy cow, this really changes it even more for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm for it, but now hearing that, it's like, it's needed now.
Yeah.
And that part really stood out to me.
Yeah.
So here, you got anything else to add?
No, it sounds like you got a comment there, though.
So this is 121-year-old man. This is via YouTube. Mr. Rozema, can you give us your point of view on RTA Next? What is Marana's plan B if it isn't approved by voters? So first, let's talk about what RTA Next is and how that deals with, you talk about infrastructure.
Yeah.
You talk about the interchanges on I-10. What does RTA mean for those?
Yeah. So the RTA is a regional transportation authority. It's been in effect now for the past, it was passed in 2006. It expires here in 2026. So if we want to continue to build these major infrastructure road projects, we're going to have to renew it and do an RTA Next. Those monies, it's a half cent, right? And it's county-wide, and all of that money goes into infrastructure, identified infrastructure projects. So the ones that are in Marana specifically, you have Cortero Interchange, Tangerine Interchange. We're going to build a brand new interchange at Moore Road. We're going to widen some roadways like Thornydale, so it's 4 lanes all the way down to Cortero. Silver Bell gets widened all the way down to Grant. So, and those are just the projects that directly affect people in the town of Marana. There's all kinds of other projects, but so those monies are integral. Those monies built Twin Peaks Interchange. They built the Ina Road Interchange. They did the widening for Twin Peaks and built the entire road of Twin Peaks from Dove Mountain all the way to the I-10. So lots of projects throughout Pima County that ballot initiative funded over the last 20 years. And now we need that money to fund the projects going forward. If it doesn't pass, the town's going to have to look for another option. And we've talked about a number of those things. One is we could do our own half-cent transportation tax and to help. But it pales in comparison to what we would garner with the RTA as a whole. So that means we'd have to look for other ways, whether those are grants, those are few and far between, but we're going to have to explore. One of those things would be, perhaps using money from the data centers to build those projects, right?
Can we get a ding?
Can we get?
Oh, we caught him.
Oh,
there he is.
There he goes. There he goes. Yeah, we could use money from the data centers to build some of those projects. So
either way, likeliness of a half-cent sales tax is the plan B. Because it says, what is Marana's plan B if it isn't approved by voters?
Yeah, so the town could do its own half-cent just for the town of Marana. That generates roughly $7 million a year, give or take. I'm not sure the exact amount, but it's right around. A half cent generates about $7 million a year.
So you guys would be able to paint some stripes on the road.
Yeah,
because
we'd have to bond. Yeah, we'd have to bond. Now, ADOT would come to the table with some money to help us with the infrastructure that's actually their infrastructure, right? The interchanges are their infrastructure, but we're the ones wanting the flyover interchanges, the grade separated interchanges that people want, so they don't have to wait at the trains.
Okay, big question on that.
Yeah.
Why didn't that happen at Tangerine I-10?
Why didn't it happen?
Yeah.
Well,
the flyover interchange.
Yeah.
Why hasn't it happened?
Why hasn't it happened? Well,
is it in the plans?
It is in the RTA Next plan for that. We're going to do some interim improvements to basically make it like Cortero is right now to get us through until we get that.
Mm-hmm.
But the
RTA
primary
Next needs to pass for that to happen.
For that to happen. But the reason we can't do it right now is because you have to shut down the interchange. Mm-hmm. Now, if we shut down Tangerine,
where do they go?
Where do they go, man?
Drive through San Lucas.
They're going to have to go all the way up to Marana, and that interchange is a mess.
Oh my!
So
goodness,
imagine
that'd be crazy.
Quadrupling the amount of traffic at Marana and I-10
It'd be chaos.
for people. It would be absolute pandemonium.
Anarchy.
Yeah. We
fire in the streets. Man.
Yeah, people would lynch me.
Oh my goodness! Yeah.
I'd be hanging by my toes from the third floor of my office.
So. Why is there so much information against the RTA? Why isn't this an easier sell?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a number of reasons. Some of the stuff I've read and I'm hearing is people don't like certain projects. So you got people on one side that don't like new roadways. They want everything. They want to push everything to transit. Then you have people on the other side that say, well, we don't like all these transit projects and all this money going to transit. We want it poured into the roads. So you kind of have two far ends of the spectrum really fighting against it. I think you're going to find that you can't say that people haven't benefited from the first RTA. When you look at, if you go down a list of all the projects on the original RTA that we're in right now, those are huge projects, and none of those projects would have happened without the RTA. So, do I think it's important? Absolutely. I'm very hopeful that it goes to the voters, and we get it passed. That's my hope. That's my desire. And I believe it's going to be on the ballot here in March, so right around the corner. And we'll see what happens. Again, there's two sides to it. People don't want the tax, or they don't like what the money's going to, but there is great benefit to it. So, have to give a little to get a little, I guess. On both sides of that.
Yeah, I mean that's what happens when you have that combined municipality thing going on here.
Yeah, you got 5 different municipalities here.
And if it doesn't pass, they're all on their own.
Absolutely.
And I talked to somebody familiar with the RTA, and they shared something that was really interesting about the RTAs. If it doesn't pass, the list of priority changes for ADOT and projects regarding that, right? Like,
100%.
Because now from it being like a priority because it's combined.
Yep.
Now ADOT is focusing on areas where there's actual money to support the projects that need to be done.
Was that person Ted Maxwell?
It was.
Yeah. Ted will tell you, and he's 100% right.
I got him coming on the second.
Why would ADOT come to the table unless there's money from the region coming to the table? Why would they be 100% on the hook for those? Because it's to the benefit of the people that live in this region. So we've got to have some skin in the game. And, the RTA gives us that skin. If the RTA doesn't pass, the town will try to find a way to get some skin in the game for those projects in Marana. And, whether that's a half-cent sales tax, whether that's data center monies, whether that's some other economic development money that's not available yet.
Terry, we would need way more than a half-cent sales tax for that.
I
don't know how. I mean,
we would.
Because let's.
We wouldn't get all those. So, bottom line, we wouldn't get all those projects done.
And we're talking pushed out for a long time.
Long time, longer than 20 years. Yeah, we can't get all that done in 20 years.
Yeah, so if you're listening and you live in these regions, Tangerine and all that. I hear you guys. People text me and say it to me all the time. Like, I got some kind of way to persuade. I don't know why y'all tell me share it with me all the time, but they tell me all the time how I didn't have I have to wait 20 minutes on the side of the freeway to get through. They said it's a little better now, so I'll give them that. I'll give you guys
it should be a lot better.
Yeah, they said it's a little better, but I've heard some disappointment coming out of Tangerine or coming out of there, but If you're listening, the only way this is really happening is if the RTA next passes. So really look into it. I know there's people going, oh, we're not just another half-cent sales tax going to people's pockets and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, Terry's sitting here, and if it doesn't pass, he's being conservative on the half-cent sales tax element. I think it's really, really, really sweet of you to say that it would only be a half-cent sales tax. But when you see the reality of what one of those interchanges costs, right? It's like it's a significant. It's not $7 million. Yeah, that's why I made the comment. Be able to paint the lines on the street because it's going to be so much more.
Yeah, Tangerine is probably $180 million by itself.
Play it, Tony. You know which one?
$100 billion.
Close.
Well, Terry, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on here today.
Hey, David, thanks for having me. Enjoy talking with you, and hopefully this information is helpful for the residents.
And we didn't get into it too much, and I apologize, Terry. We had all this other going on. You've got a podcast. It's called the Real Talk Podcast with Terry Rozema.
Real Talk with the Town. My name is Terry, and I am your host.
He's got everybody that's involved in a bunch of these projects and stuff going on his show. Yeah. Go give it a listen. It's available. Where's it available at?
It's available. You can get it on Spotify, YouTube, you name it. You can go onto our website. There's a link for each one if you want to listen to all the past ones. There's like, I don't know, 85 or 90 or something, 100. Mm-hmm. I don't know how many there are. There's quite a few of them. Yeah. But it covers all kinds of different topics going on throughout the town.
Absolutely awesome. Way to go on doing that. That's Thanks, just man. Something that takes work.
Yeah.
You know what it takes to put a podcast together. You got to have somebody recording. You got to have the mics. Got to make sure everything's taken care of.
I just show up, sit in the seat, and start talking.
Blessed.
Man.
You're a blessed man. You're a blessed man. I finally get to do that a little bit now.
Good.
And it's because the team here is. I got to give a shout out to the team. Tony, Jackson, Malik, Shay. We got a new intern today, starting in 28 minutes from the U of A, from Eller, through the American Advertising Federation, which is going to be great.
Cool.
But yeah, we got a great team, and it feels good to be able to do that. I got to do that today. And it's
very
awesome.
Cool.
All right, Terry, keep up the good work. We appreciate your time. If you ever need anything, just reach out.
Thanks, David.
Everybody, thank you so much for watching and listening. You can catch this post-production on all of your major streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple, and, of course, in YouTube. It'll be available, and on YouTube podcasts. If you have any questions or you want to be on the show, reach out to us. Contact at ltdmedia.net. In the meantime, have a great rest of the week, and be nice, be kind.